We now have the affidavit. It has been released. We've got it. I am going through it as we speak.
You can see 15 boxes in bold and all caps, kind of over and over and over again in this affidavit.
Can I give you a for instance?
Like we're all starting to get it now. Yeah, it's pretty wild.
I'm right now. I'm on 10 pages, 15 pages of just blacked out. This is what it looks like.
If you're watching,
so this is what it tells you, American people.
Yeah,
nothing.
It's just pages of blacked out text.
Paragraph 30. According to a CBS Miami article, moving trucks were spotted at Mar-a-Lago on January 18th, 2021. At least 2 moving trucks were observed at the premises on January 18th, 2021. Is that because the president was moving after the election? I guess so.
And that's the basis. And also that means they're watching that closely.
Yes.
Which is pretty freaky.
Think about that for a minute.
Yeah.
Okay? But I mean, this is what's the basis of the affidavit.
This is going to backfire so majorly when you actually see
it already is.
That this is about 15 boxes of documents from a former president of the United States. He was the president of the United States. He has
declassified these.
Okay, but he's classified documents. Of course he did. He was the president of the United States.
The affidavit actually cites documents, governing principles that involve the executive branch employees, but not the president of the United States. I mean, think about that, because the president's different than everybody else. Remember, the president, under the Commander-in-Chief Clause of the United States Constitution, of course, has declassification authority, which employees do not have. That's number one. Number two, if you look at what their probable cause is, the probable cause is we believe there are other documents down there with these classifications.
So
now, they were down there for 18 months, by the way. So nothing happened. So ask yourself, is it worth causing this kind of political and civil discourse and tension? Because what are they going to do? Indict Donald Trump for this? You want us?
Well, it sounds like they're not even barely talking about Donald Trump. It sounds like they're talking about executive branch
employees.
Which, again, now you're going to get one step deeper and go, you're not even talking about the president. This whole thing was really about executive branch employees because you're using some sort of weird words game to be able to get in and to raid his property and to take who knows what else.
Paragraph 53. It says, I'm aware of an article. This is the affidavit, so it's the affiant, who is the FBI agent here. I'm aware of an article published in Breitbart on May 5th, 2022. Listen to this, which states that Kash Patel, who is described as a former former president of the United States administration official, characterized as misleading reports in other news organizations that the archives, National Archives, had found classified materials among the former president's documents. Patel alleged that such reports were misleading because the former president had declassified such materials. And then after that, folks, 2.5 pages of blank. So this is exactly what you're dealing with, Logan. I'm not shocked at this.
I feel bad for the people for the pages that were printed on here. I feel bad for the paper because, this is just wasting toner here, left and right here with this amount of, it's absolutely insane.
If you look at the probable cause, here's what they said. The probable cause is to believe that additional documents that contain classifications are still there and not subject to and not being handled according to the record retention requirements currently in the premises where they're located. So let's raid a former president of the United States house to rectify that. I want you to think about that for a moment, folks.
I said during this week and last week that, look, getting this affidavit out there, it's going to be bad. You're going to see stuff you're not going to feel good about. Now, after looking at it, just briefly and reading through it, I'm sure there's going to be stuff in there we need to break down more specifically. I don't know if I necessarily agree with the statement that I've been saying the whole time, which is you're going to be going through it and going, oh, well, that doesn't look great. Oh, that's not good. Because you thought for them to get this raid, even if you believe it to be true or not, there is going to be some damning stuff in the content. It doesn't seem to be. If it is, it's redacted.
If you look at the timeline with this, it looks like you had a document dispute that the FBI decided to escalate to a literal constitutional crisis, which they have now done.
Yeah. When you have all of these other problems happening around the world, this is what we focused on. That's what your FBI decided to focus on. Not every sort of crisis that's happening.
They were in negotiations, according to this the affidavit, in May and June. And then in negotiations for return, something happened, and they then raid the premises.
This judge, who already should have recused himself because he made anti-Trump statements online and had recused himself already on one thing, goes out there and says, you know what, we should put this out and release it. Maybe he was wrong. Maybe he shouldn't have released this because maybe the President Trump was right when he said, release the document, show the affidavit, we want it out there. He was right because looking at this right now, as far as I can tell, and again, we're just now getting sort of the highlights from our legal team, there's nothing in here.
Look, they escalated a document dispute into a literal constitutional crisis. And that's because the head of the Justice Department didn't have the guts to stand up to the people that were pushing this agenda. And when you read this affidavit, what you see, okay, folks, is we wanted the boxes back. They didn't want to give it. He thought it was his. They thought it was theirs. And let's go raid his house.
I want to be clear with this because I think we went at this nuanced and legal, and we looked at it every way that this could be. And now we're breaking it down. We're seeing what it is. This is where people get incredibly frustrated.
Yes.
Because it seems like a joke.
I'm guessing here, but I just can't imagine that this results in an indictment as to these documents. It's politically ridiculous. It's the FBI doing what they do now, which seems like this is what they do. And I don't understand for the life of me how this escalated to this kind of issue.